Today we geek out about Popcats Fighter. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Lee with Geek City USA, and today we're here to talk about a game called Popcats Fighter. Now this is a game by Ninjabot with a tagline that says, "Unleash the Furry." So had me very interested in that, and this is a video game feeling 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 card game where you're trying to win 2 out of 3 fights, just as if you're playing a video game. So I'm going to take you over here, show you how the game plays, and then we will come back and I will give you my thoughts on the game. All right, guys, this is Popcats Fighter. So the very first thing you are going to do when you play this game is you have to pick your player. And we have 8 players to pick from here. And if you look here, first of all, the art on this is amazing. But you'll see your character. Each character is going to have like an individual special move that they do. And then they're going to have a super move that they can do as they power up. And then they can have a mega move that they do that's a super power move. So you're going to have to look through here and pick who is the most appealing. Do you want it to be KI77Y or Kitty? Do you want it to be Pearl, which this is a favorite of my wife's, I think. See all their super moves and mega moves. The art, like I said, is amazing. Here's Sparkles, or Spa. I see the paw. There's a pun in there somewhere. See the, this reminds me of, I grew up on Thundercats, so that looks like Lino a little bit. And we have El Tigre, which is another good one. Your throw cards are +1 hit damage. See a little luchador here. And like I said, you have 8 here to pick from. You have Katana, the Berserker. It's a pretty cool one as well. And all these are unique with their abilities and with their mega moves and their super moves. Okay, so once each player has selected a starting character, we're going to go ahead and deal a power-up card randomly to each player. Now what these are, is these are going to give each player an additional action or bonus that they can do. So we'll shuffle these up and give each one randomly here. So Pearl, for example, now in addition to playing an extra instant card each turn, once per turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand into the discard pile and draw 2 new cards. So we could set that like so. And then Clawfang here, in addition to, for every 4 hits you successfully land on your opponent, heal 2 hits at the end of a turn, you will also get an extra action on your attacking turn, which that's pretty huge because that's how you get cards, that's how you do damage, and so forth. So now let me also mention again that this is a prototype copy of the game. So what the final released product may vary from this. I would imagine that this would be a little different. So currently for this, we have a little marker that's going to move up. Now I would expect for the final release that this is going to be something that stays in place. So definitely check out the Kickstarter page to see what the game, the final components are actually going to be. And this is our life counter here, so very much in video game theme. So we start off, you know, your cats have 9 lives, and that's broken down into 27 hits, and as you take damage, you are going to reduce your life meter until you hit red and you die. And then you end the round, and then you continue the next round, and best 2 out of 3 are going to win. Now also in this game, each player is going to be given one of these cards. Now this is very, very helpful. So it gives you how to set up the game. So very concise, you know, what your actions are. If you're on attack, you get 4 actions. When it's your turn to defend, you get 4 actions, and then you can respond. So if somebody counters an action, if you attack and somebody on defense counters your attack, you get to do a response. And then here's what your valid actions are, and on the back there's quick rules, a little bit of extra information, as well as a legend for you to see what each of the card means at a glance. So this becomes very helpful in the game, especially the first few games as you're learning what each of the icons mean, maybe what your actions, your different options for actions are. So now as player 1, we are going to start by attacking. Now we're going to have 4 actions to do, and our valid actions are an attack or defense move, a move enhancer, an instant card, which you can only play 1 per turn unless you have a power that lets you do more. You can draw 2 cards, or you can burn 2 cards. Now when you burn 2 cards, you take 1 card, you add it to the discard pile, and the other card you add to your power-up meter. Now the cool thing about this power-up meter, and we'll touch on that a little bit more, the way that you can play your, oops, wrong pile here. The way that you could play your super move here, for example, you see you deduct 6 from your power meter. So as you play cards and they're successful, they'll be discarded into this pile here. And as you discard them, you'll increase the count. And that goes towards, just like your power meter in a video game. So that would be, once you get, say, 6 in this case, you can discard 6 cards and you can play your super move, which would do 4 hits damage, and also counter hits do not affect you this turn. So that's something to keep in mind here as you're building up your, you might want to burn some cards in your hand so that way you can do a more powerful action. So now to take you through a sample turn, so I'll be player 1 and I'll start attacking. So let me kind of sort my cards here because I have my attack cards, I have a couple defense cards, I have a move enhancer here, that's what this icon is. So I would start by, so I have a directional, so these you could play with your attack cards. So in this case, I think of it as if this were the A button that's up in A, which makes a more powerful claw attack. So I would say, okay, I'll play this, and this would be 7 attack towards the opponent. And then I'll look back here and I'll say, I got some good cards, but I want to draw some more. So I'm going to draw 2 cards as my second action. And that gets me another throw and another pounce. So I will play a pounce for 2. Let's kind of move that out of the way. So that would be my third action. This is action 1, action 2 was to draw, and action 3. And then I could play this. An opponent must block this card only with a kitten block before they're able to defend themselves against the attack. So I'll play this as well. So I have played my 4 actions as the attacker. Now we'll go over to the defender here, and let's look at what we have in our hand. So we have an attack, here's a defense. Let's kind of sort our hand a little bit. Here's an instant, enhancer. All right, so we really don't have very much in the way of defense, although we do have a counter. So this would avoid damage from an attack move, and we can counter back with 1 attack move. And then we get to draw 2 cards. So I could play this on something and then add an attack to it, which I think I will do for sure. So I'm going to play this counter as player 2 on, and it's kind of hard the way I have it set up here so you guys can see all the cards, but I'll play the counter on this attack here. Oh, actually, look, I forgot I played this here. So I have to block this card with a kitten block first. I don't have any. So player 2's first action will be to draw 2 cards. And we didn't get anything that we wanted. So we will draw 2 more cards. And here we have a kitten block and a pounce. So for our second move, or second action, we have this kitten block here. And we could play that on the taunt. So that means we may now block cards. So that was our third action. And then our last action, what we will do is we will play this counter here on the claw. And on the counter, we're just going to go ahead and play litter toss, which is 5 hits. Okay, so that was our 4 actions. So now we know that we're going to take a damage from this. We took care of this card, and this one we countered. But because we countered 1, player 1 gets a chance to respond. So they get 1 action, and they can do anything they want. And they could, in turn, player 1 could block if we wanted to. Or we could draw up cards. Now what I think player 1's going to do, they're going to look and they're say 5 hits. I'm running low on cards. Maybe I want to, just for the sake of this, draw a couple cards to build up my hand for the next turn. So that's what he's going to do. And then we're going to figure out what cards work here. So we're going to look at this attack. So player 1 was blocked and countered. So these cards are going to get discarded. This is going to go through, and this card is going to get discarded because this kitten block defeated this card. So now we look here and we say how much damage is being done. So player 1 is going to take 5 points of damage based on this counter that went through, and player 2 is going to take 3 points of damage. So we'll start off with player 1 taking 5 points. So we'll go from, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're at 22. And then player 2 is going to take 3 damage. So we're down to 8 lives left. Now, what you do is any cards that were fully successful or partially successful that are not instant cards. Instant cards are always discarded. But any cards that were fully or partially successful are going to go into your meter stack. So in this case, player 2 had these 3 cards that were successful, so they can go here, and they now have 3 in this stack, and player 1 is going to have 1 in their stack. Now, you are at the end of your turn, you can only have 12 cards in your hand, so if you have more than 12 cards, you need to discard them. So we would go on now, and that was player 1's turn to attack. Now player 2 gets to attack. So player 2 can go through their hand here, and then let's just see, we got a lot of attacking to do. So we will play, let's start with, we will play a litter toss, but we'll play it with this dash directional card. So that's going to be worth 8. And then we will play, let's say we play a claw for 2. And we are going to, let's see what our super move is. Your other attack moves this turn have +1 to hit, and this does 5 hits of damage. Well, that was 2. So for 3, let's say we will play, we'll play this. And for 4, we'll draw 2 more cards. I'm not really working much into strategy here, just kind of showing the actions of the game. Okay, so that was player 2's attack. So player 1 gets to defend. So we have 4 actions to defend with. Oh, and we're pretty good on the defense here. So we have 1 counter. Oh, in fact, we countered the last turn and did not draw 2 cards. So player 2 would have actually had a couple extra cards there. So player 1 will counter that for 1. And then we will play against this, and this lets us block 1, and then we have to take the damage from the other. So that's 2. And let's say we're going to, you know, for just for the sake of conversation, we're going to burn a couple cards here. So we'll put a card in our meter, and we'll just discard a card, and that lets us up our meter 1. And then for our 4th action, we'll draw 2 cards. Okay. Now, player 2 is going to get to react to the counter. So, player 2 doesn't have any defensive cards. So, what I would do as player 2 is I would just draw 2 cards as that action. So now we're going to resolve the cards. And if we look here, I totally missed. I did not play an attack with that. So, player 1 will play that counter. Okay. So now, we're going to look here, and you know, this is going to be out of the game. Player 1 blocked this, so we're good there. And this is a lot easier to figure out what cards hit and what don't when you're actually putting your cards at each other, but just for the sake of the camera here. And this blocked this, so that's out, but player 1's going to take damage from this. So player 1's going to take 3 points of damage. So we'll move them down from 22, 1, 2, 3. All right. And then player 2 is going to take 3 damage as well. So they're down to 7 lives. And then you would look here, and these cards were successful for player 1. So they get 2 more cards in here, so they're up to 4. And player 2, oh, actually, that one's theirs as well. And player 2 gets 1 card. And now you're going to go back and forth until one person loses all of their life. At which point then you are going to put a win counter on one side. And the first person, just like in true video game fashion, you know, you play your next game. And always, one thing to remember whenever you lose, definitely flip over your card, shows game over with a continue option, and give your opponent a moment to gloat. Once they're done gloating, flip it back over and you can set up to play another game until one player ends up with 2 victories, and I'll give it to Pearl because, you know, my wife usually plays Pearl and she always beats me. So, all right, one more item to note that I didn't really touch on during the turn example is if you wanted to play your super move or mega move, what you would do is on one of your 4 actions that you take during your turn where you're playing, let's say I'm player 2, I'm attacking player 1. Let's say I play this attack card for 1 action. Now I want to play my mega move. So for another action, I could do this. So this would be take 11 from your meter and it does 13 hits of damage. So I would take 11 from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the meter would drop 11. Let's say I have 6 cards left. These would get discarded. And then this would be one of the cards that your opponent has to block. It's just like one of these attack cards, but it's going to be a whole lot harder to block. In fact, they're going to need a special move block here. Avoid damage from a special move or any one attack move. And you also may only play one special move card per turn. So you couldn't double dip and say you had enough cards and play both of these. You'd only be able to play one during your turn. All right, we'll take you back up top and we will give you our thoughts on the game. All right, guys, that was Popcats Fighter. So first of all, let me start by saying that that was a prototype copy of the game. So the final components may change, but I will say that the art on this game is fantastic, and the components that were there in this prototype were very cool. It very much immersed you in the theme as though you were playing a video game. I know it was a card game, but just the attention to detail, it felt like you were playing a combat video game. So I definitely think that the presentation, it definitely created the feel of playing a video game. Now, to continue on with that, the gameplay itself, again, it felt like you're playing a video game. You're playing these cards and you are doing these super powerful moves to your opponent. Your opponent has the opportunity to counter. You're able to mix the moves with a kind of a directional move, which gives the feel of maybe you're hitting the A button and hitting up to do a super punch, and the theme is immersive, and you feel like you're playing a video game but in card game form. And the games play very quick. I would say a round takes maybe 10 minutes once you're comfortable with the rules, so you can play a full game in about 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if you're playing with some newer people. And the gameplay, it plays smooth and it's very interactive because you are playing an attack card if you are the attacker at the time, and your opponent has the opportunity to defend or counter, and if they counter, you can come back against them to counter their counter or to use that action to do something else. So the gameplay was very smooth and it was absolutely fun. All right, so let's talk about the audience of the game. So first and foremost, you're going to notice the visual of this game. So if you're a fan of anime style or chibi style, this is definitely going to be something that is geared towards you. In addition, if you are a fan of 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 combat video games, say like a Street Fighter or something like that, I think this game is for you as well. This game is also going to be a draw to a wide range of gamers, whether you are a casual gamer or light gamer, all the way up to the heavier gamers if you like strategy in your game, because there's enough back and forth, there's enough player interaction, but it's not overtly difficult. The rules are really simple. The game is cut and dry. You know, you're playing your attack cards. It all makes sense, so it all flows together. So I think that based upon that, any sort of gamer is going to be interested in this game, specifically if you're a fan of the themes and if you're a fan of the fighting game. Now, the replayability factor on this game is huge because there are 8 characters with this prototype, and they all play a little bit differently. And not only that, but they're all going to have a unique power-up card that they're given each turn. So you're never going to have quite the same play experience 2 times in a row. And you know, the games are, there's a lot of take that. I mean, it's a 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 attack game, so you're going to want to get your comeuppance. So if you lose, like I so often did, I always wanted to play one more round to try to get that retribution for playing poorly, I guess. So I definitely think that with the wide range of characters, the constant evolving gameplay based on what your hand is, I think there's definitely going to be a high desire to get this back to the table. So all in all, this game was a huge win with us. Now, we played it 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, enjoyed both aspects. The 2 versus 2 was great because you could eliminate an opponent, you were taking cards from your partner to try to do the most damage, and the play was great. But 1 versus 1, this game absolutely shined because the player interaction was excellent. Like I said, my wife loved this, so we played this countless times. I played it with buddies. I played this with casual gamers, with heavy gamers. We always had fun with it. And the thing that I think I like most is the immersiveness of the theme. You felt like you were playing a card game, but it was a video game. The theme flowed together and it worked very well. And I really like the fact that I'm used to playing 1 versus 1 games where you always have mana or something that you need to do to draw from to play your cards. And this wasn't like it. So, you know, right out of the gate, you could be drawing cards to play a ton of good attack cards, build up your meter so that you could pull off that super move, and it just flowed well. And based upon that alone, to me and to the group that I've played with, this game has been a must-have. This is replaced a lot of the 1 versus 1 games that we have played. We enjoyed it greatly. It's made its way to the table a ton, and based on that alone, I would recommend it. And I think that if you're a fan of the theme, you would absolutely love this game. Like I said, if you like the anime theme or the Street Fighter vibe to it, I would recommend checking this game out. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Lee with Geek City USA. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Please, please, please comment, like, subscribe to us on YouTube if you don't already. Check out our Instagram. We're pretty active on there. Twitter as well. We have a Facebook page. Love to interact with you guys. But again, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.